This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, Bo Cook from Loan Market, BTZD, the official apparel partner of the Paracave Podcast, and the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. This is the tipping podcast and it is round 21 of the Telstra Premiership, and it is getting closer to the business end of the season, the semi-finals, where now all games are going to count towards teams getting into that top 4, the top 8, or indeed missing the top 8. So these are really crucial games, and we're back to one team having the bye this week and 8 games again on this weekend. The Dolphins are having the bye, so no more Finns up this weekend anyway, because they won't be playing after their loss against the Panthers at KO Stadium in Redcliffe. Now, the round kicks off on Thursday night, 7:50pm, or 10 to 8, if you would like to call it that. Dragons versus the West Tigers. Now, this is a game between 16th and 17th on the ladder. The Dragons on 14 points, the Tigers on 12 points. As we know, both clubs have been have had very hard seasons with both on-field and on-field results, I should say, and off-field matters. So, 16th versus 17th. This one's at WIN Stadium in Wollongong. A few big names return for the Dragons. Ben Hunt, Jack Bird amongst those ones. For the Tigers, David Nofaluma, he returns to the wing for the Tigers. Now, this is going to be a game that, look, this could be a really high-scoring game. Could be a really close-scoring game as well. The last time these two teams played, the last 2 times these teams have played, only 2 points have separated them, with this year the Tigers getting the win 18-16 in the game up in Brisbane in Magic Round. So, bit of magic for the Tigers that weekend over the Dragons. But look, it's going to go, I think the only thing that I'm going to do is tip the Dragons in this game. And the only reason I'm going to tip the Dragons in this game is the Tigers have lost the last 5 games, including that embarrassing 74-0 against the Cowboys a few weeks ago. And the Dragons have won 1 game out of their last 5, 36-30 over the Rabbitohs. So, and the fact that it's down in Wollongong as well. So that's who I'm going to tip. So yeah, I'm going to tip the Dragons in this one. No specific reasons in this one. No real thought has gone into this one, only the fact that it's down in Wollongong. The Dragons seem to step up there. So the next game is going to be a cracker. It is over in New Zealand, Friday, 6pm in Australia and 8pm over in New Zealand. The Warriors take on the Raiders. Now, what a game this will be. This is 4th versus 5th on the ladder. The Raiders on 28 points, the Warriors on 26. And look, the Warriors have been one of the form teams over the last, well, you could say 5 to 6 weeks, to be honest. They have certainly, they've only gone down the once there to the Rabbitohs 28-6. But before that, they have been on fire, including beating the Sharks last weekend, 44-12, and defeating my Parramatta Eels 46-10 at CommBank Stadium. So some pretty big wins there. Also 48-18 over the Dragons as well. So they've had some pretty big wins there. The Raiders, they are 4 out of their last 5. They've had some pretty handy wins over the Dragons, Titans, the Roosters, and they've also had the bye as well. They lost to the Warriors a few weeks ago, 36-14. So these two teams only just recently played. The Chocolates go to the Warriors on that day down in Canberra. This one is going to be a cracker, though. It is back in New Zealand, and they are tough to beat over there. Murata Niokore returns, Bunty Afoa returns, so a couple of troops coming back there. Murata, one of the former second rows of the competition before he got suspended, he's back. So the Raiders, they get Josh Papali'i back, Corey Horsburgh as well. So the couple of big guns there back for them. Look, this is going to be a really good game. As I said, the Warriors in form. The Raiders, they had the bye last week, so could that stun them a little bit, having the bye, then going over to New Zealand to face the Warriors? The Warriors, they want to get into that top 4. The Raiders in that top 4, they want to stay there. Look, this is going to be a 1-12 game, I think. I'm going to go the Warriors in this one to win this game. The next game on Friday night is absolutely a cracker as well. The Rabbitohs versus the Broncos. And this game is going to be played up at Sunshine Coast Stadium. So a little bit something different there. The Rabbitohs are having to take their home games away at the moment due to the FIFA Women's World Cup that's happening at the moment, which starts on Thursday. So the first game being played at Accor Stadium. So that venue is unavailable, I think, for the next 5 weeks whilst the World Cup is on. So the Rabbitohs are actually on tour at the moment. They've got about 5 games away, including games, as I said, at the Sunshine Coast, Cairns, Perth, Tamworth. So they've got a few away games. Their last game of the season, in round 27, is against their old foes at Accor Stadium. So a little bit interesting that they've taken the game up to the Sunshine Coast, and that the Broncos have been training there all week, or they will be training there all week before this game. So a Rabbitohs home game, and the Broncos are training there. So something I found a little bit funny. But the Broncos, they get Payne Haas, Pat Carrigan, Reece Walsh back into their lineup to what would probably be near full strength for them. They've been playing some great footy this year. It's certainly different to last year. Currently second in the competition. The Rabbitohs, they are favourites in this game. They are in 8th position. They get some big guns back as well. Cameron Murray, Campbell Graham, who has just re-signed with the club until the end of 2027. Cody Walker, Damien Cook, Jacob Host, Jai Arrow, and the big gun, Latrell Mitchell. He returns back to fullback for the Rabbitohs. He hasn't played since round 12 of the competition, so it's great to see Latrell back. He didn't take part in the State of Origin series this year, so great to see Latrell back. And for South Sydney fans anyway, not necessarily the Broncos. Look, this one is a really hard one to tip, I reckon. The last time they played, it was a massive victory to the Rabbitohs, 32 points to 6. That was at Suncorp Stadium. And yeah, look, this is going to be a hard one. The Broncos, as I said, in form. The Rabbitohs, they had the bye last week, so they're back to playing footy this week, and with Latrell Mitchell back. So, wow, what a game. The Rabbitohs are favourites in this game, as I mentioned. Look, I'm going to tip I'm going to tip the Broncos in this game for a bit of an upset, and I think the only reason that will be is because it's in Queensland. Look, Latrell Mitchell has been out for nearly 10 weeks, and I just don't... He is a massive inclusion, don't get me wrong, for the Rabbitohs. The guys in that team love having him in that side. He creates a great vibe being in that side. I just think that the Broncos, at the moment, they can get this win over the Rabbitohs, who are struggling a little bit of late and find themselves in 8th position. So I'm going to go the Broncos in that game, and what a tremendous Friday night football feast it will be on Friday night. So catch both those games, Warriors and Raiders, Rabbitohs and Broncos. Moving on to Saturday, the Titans are playing host to the Sydney Roosters up there at the Gold Coast at Cbus Super Stadium. AJ Brimson returns for the Titans. And just looking at the team list here, Joe Stimson is named onto the bench, and Jaden Campbell moves back to the interchange bench. He obviously started last week against Parramatta with AJ Brimson, a late withdrawal. For the Roosters, James Tedesco is back at fullback and captain for their side, so a big in for them. Joey Manu moves back to centre, with Joseph Suaalii moving to the wing. Sandon Smith is a halfback once again, and Nathan Brown at lock. Brandon Smith still on the interchange bench as well. So, look, this is going to be an interesting game. No Tino Fasu Malawi for the Titans. He is suspended for 3 weeks with a shoulder charge tackle on Regan Campbell-Gillard in last week's game against the Eels, so he is out. So a huge loss for the Titans there, their captain and inspirational forward pack leader. It's a crucial game for the Roosters as well, sitting in 14th spot. Both these teams actually, a very crucial game for their season, both these sides. 12th and 14th, both on 20 points. The number 9, the Cowboys, they're in 9th, they're on 24 points, so they're a little bit in front of these two sides, although these two sides have both had their buys. So the Cowboys are technically on 26 points, so and the Rabbitohs on 26, and the Eels on 26 as well, technically, if you include those buys. So that's 7, 8, and 9. So a very crucial game for both of these sides. You would possibly think that the loser of this game, definitely their season is gone. Otherwise, they're just going to have to be going mathematically, and we all know once you do that, then you possibly are clutching at straws. So, look, in this game, I'm going to tip the Titans in this one. I just think, even though they don't have big Tino in their side, I think they can really turn it on against the Rabbitohs, the Roosters, and get this win. They've been playing okay. They've had a 1-point loss to the Parramatta Eels last week, and they had that 2-point loss to the Dolphins, and they had that 4-point loss to the Raiders. So they want to get back in the winner's circle. They did beat the Broncos a few weeks ago. So I'm going to go the Titans in this one. I think it'll be a close game though, 1-12. So Titans in that one. The next game on Super Saturday sees the Knights take on the Storm, the Melbourne Storm, at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. And look, 10th versus 3rd. The Storm, they had a good win against the Roosters last week. The Knights beating the Tigers at this same ground. Dane Gagai returns after a foot injury, and an interesting fact, the Storm have won the last 11 games versus the Knights, and the last 9 times they've played, they've won in double figures. So this potentially could get ugly for the Newcastle Knights. The Melbourne Storm just hitting a little bit of form at the moment, probably fielding their strongest lineup of the season, you would like to think, by the looks of it. So very strong lineup there. Obviously their halves are dangerous to watch as well. Cameron Munster and Jaroom Hughes. Justin Olam in that centre position, he is one wrecking ball. He can pull off some big hits, and Nick Meaney at fullback has been pretty solid all year. So Caleb Ponga, though, he was rested in the State of Origin series. He decided not to play for Queensland, opt out of representing Queensland this year. So that's been a good thing for Newcastle during this Origin period. So he's a little bit fresher as well. Bradman Best, though, getting that experience in Game 3. He certainly gained that experience and turned it on against the Tigers last week. Scored another try as well. And Jackson Hastings just running that team around as well. So, look, I'm going to go Melbourne in this one. I just think too much experience, too much class, and again, they will want to stay in that top 4. So I'm going to go Melbourne in this one. The last game of Super Saturday sees the North Queensland Cowboys take on my Parramatta Eels at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. Now, this is going to be a really hard game for the Parramatta Eels to win. The last time they met, it was a win to the Eels, 24-16. You will remember that was after the Cowboys got absolutely smacked by the Tigers at Leichhardt Oval. And they showed up against the Eels and gave them a good run for their money, but they just weren't good enough on that night. Now, this is a completely different situation. This is up in Queensland, up at their home ground. They're massive favourites. They're sitting in ninth, the same points as the Eels. So a crucial game for both these sides. Both sides have had 2 byes, so they've both got one left, but still a crucial game just to stay in that top 8 and to stay within reach of that top 4. So, a tough game. The Cowboys are near full strength. They're probably their best side that they can field each game this year. Big Jason Taumalolo coming off the bench. Ruben Cotter, he's been outstanding this year. Got the Wally Lewis medal for State of Origin. Chad Townsend, Tom Dearden will be hard to... you have to keep their eye on them. Valentine Holmes in the centre as well. But probably the crucial player to watch is Scott Drinkwater. So he's been in a pretty good touch lately, scoring a couple of tries and just causing some panic amongst the defence. So going to be interesting with this one. At the moment, Regan Campbell-Gillard is suspended for 4 weeks for knees in the back. Last week to a Titans player, a pretty clumsy incident that has cost him 4 weeks. At the time of recording, Mike Acevo is fighting this charge of a shoulder charge, hit to the head. So he will be facing the judiciary. So the outcome of that won't be available till after this podcast is recording. So he may not play. And look, there's Hayes Dunster named at number 18, and there's also Wonga Blake as well named in number 20. So you would like to think that one of those 2 players will fill that void of Mike Acevo, who most Parramatta fans have been saying hasn't been playing his best football of late and could probably do with a little bit of a rest and maybe play New South Wales Cup and maybe give Wonga Blake a return back to first grade on the wing, because he showed some promise last year on the wing. for Parramatta, and maybe he deserves another shot on that wing spot. So very interesting. Ofahiki Ogden has taken RCG spot for the game. He's played a few more games this year than he has previously, and he will partner Junior Parlo in the front row. So look, this is going to be a really good game. It's going to be a close game. Look, in terms of tipping, I think I'm going to go. I'm going to shock some people here. I'm going to go the Cowboys in this game. I'm going to tip the Cowboys, and this could be a little bit of reverse psychology. Even if the Cowboys lose, then Parramatta win. So maybe that could be the case. I just think, look, the Eels struggled against the Titans last week. I thought they could have done better than what they did. They got the win, but only just. So the Cowboys, they've been 5 wins on the trot. Parramatta, they had that loss against the Warriors, so they were on track for 5 wins in their last 5 games as well. But the Cowboys, they smacked the Tigers. They had a good win last week against the Sea Eagles down at Brookvale, defeated the Rabbitohs, defeated the Panthers, albeit without their origin players, and then beat the Storm as well. First time in the history they put 45 on the Storm. And the last 3 games of the Cowboys is their first time in their history that they have held 3 teams to single figures in a game. So first time in the history. So their defence is coming back to what 2022 is. So look, it's going to be interesting. We all know the game before the one this year was the preliminary final up there at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. So the Eels, they know they can win the game. They've done it before in a big game, the prelim final, 24-20 last year. So they can do it. I just think the Cowboys are going to be too tough, unfortunately. This may be one of the tough games that the Eels lose, but I'm certainly hoping I am going to be massively wrong. Don't let me fool you by that one. I really hope that I'm wrong in this tip. I hope I don't get the perfect round like last week. Look, Sunday sees the Panthers take on the Bulldogs. First 15. The Panthers, they are pretty much unbackable favourites, aren't they? Their origin players are back, and Nathan Cleary is back as well, back at halfback. So, massive ins for them. I think massive ins for them. Look, I just don't think that the Bulldogs will get close to this Panthers outfit. Josh Adokar and Viliami Kikau have been named on an extended bench, and maybe they may play, but I just don't think so. Toby Sexton is out at halfback. Kyle Flanagan replaces him. HIA protocols. So Kyle has been playing New South Wales Cup at hooker, and has been playing some pretty reasonable footy, apparently, and but he sees another shot here at halfback, running this Bulldog side around. So, but I just don't think that the Panthers will get run down in this one. I think the Panthers are going to... This, unfortunately for Bulldogs supporters and fans, I think this could be a blowout score, this one. With all these origin players back, Nathan Cleary back, he'll be chomping at the bit, just waiting to get back out there again after having 6-7 weeks off with that hamstring injury. It's at Bluebet Stadium, or as I like to call it, Penrith Park. And the Panthers, I want to stay up there on that top ladder, so top of the ladder. So, look, I'm going to tip the Panthers, and I think it could be 13+. And the last game of the round sees the Sharks take on the Sea Eagles, 6th versus 11th. We all know that the Sharks at the moment have been struggling. They got beat pretty convincingly, 44-12 over the Warriors. Beat them. and they lost that game a few weeks ago now, 54-10 against the Storm. They did put some points on against the Bulldogs and the Dragons and the Tigers, the bottom three teams of the competition. But there'll be some concerns there for the Sharks, in which they have made some changes to their side. Matt Moylan has been dropped. Wade Graham is out. Teague Wilton is out injured. So Craig Fitzgibbon, he has made some changes. Braden Trindle comes into that 5'8" spot for Matt Moylan. We also have Dale Finucane come back as well as captain. And Sifa Talakai goes onto the interchange bench rather than that centre position. So Connor Tracy comes into that centre position. So it's going to be very interesting. The Manly don't have the best of records down at Shark Park. Interesting that Matt Lodge has been named at number 17 for Manly on a trial and train and trial deal for Manly. So he's been named on the bench, and Dean Madison has been named again on the bench to play his second NRL game. It was great to see him get a try in his debut last week against the Cowboys, and that makes Dean and Ryan the 10th set of brothers to score a try on NRL debuts. So great to see him get another crack at the NRL. Look, I think maybe the Manly Sea Eagles can get a win here, and they're sitting in 11th position. Look, their season hasn't been the best. We all know why. We all know Tommy Trbojevic is out with injury, and the Sea Eagles seem to struggle without their greatest player, their best player, out. Ruben Garrick has been doing a solid job back at fullback. Josh Schuster has been in and out of games for the meantime. Daly Cherry Evans, well, he had a great Origin series, and hoping he can take that back for Manly. There has been some games there where he's really stood up as well for Manly, and being their main playmaker as he would be expected to. So look, I'm going to go Manly in an upset here. They don't have the greatest record down at Shark Park, but I think they can probably get the job done against the Sharks, the Cronulla Sharks, who are struggling at the moment. So just recapping my tips for this week: the Dragons, the Warriors, the Broncos, the Titans, the Storm, the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Sea Eagles, with the Dolphins having the bye. Now, also, don't forget to, if you're listening to this, that the NRLW Premiership kicks off as well this weekend, starting on Saturday with the Titans versus the Cowboys. Then on Saturday, 2 games being played, the Knights versus the Dragons, the Knights being the defending premiers in the Telstra Women's Premiership. The Broncos and the Roosters. The Broncos missed the semi-finals last year, so they'll be wanting to have a big season back in this competition. And on Sunday, 2 games as well, one at CommBank Stadium and one at Shark Park, between the Sharks and the Raiders. Yes, Sharks and the Raiders at PointsBet Stadium, and the Eels versus Tigers at CommBank Stadium at 12 p.m. So great to see the NRLW season kick off this weekend, round 1. There is 10 rounds, I think, this year in this competition. 10 teams at least anyway. So, and it's great to see the Women's Premiership kick-off. So some exciting players in these sides, some players have moved around each team, and then with the new teams there'll be some new players emerging as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see which team is going to take out this year's Telstra Women's Premiership, the NRLW. So Hopefully the Eels can get back to that grand final again. They're going to do it tough. They've lost a lot of players this year with obviously new teams starting up. They've lost a lot of players as well, but I wish the Eels all the best in their game against the West Tigers. Interesting that Bo Vetty-Welsh is back for the Tigers after her knee injury and captain of the Tigers, so returning back to CommBank Stadium to take on some of her former teammates. So I wish the Eels all the best in that game, and if you can, get out to one of these NRLW games or watch them all on, I think Channel 9 and Fox are covering all these games as well. So make sure you check it out, and happy tipping for the week. As I said, last week was a perfect round, 7 out of 7. Can I go 8 out of 8? Are you following my tips, or have you got something different? Let me know in the comments on the posts. Thank you very much, and enjoy your footy this weekend, and may your team win.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.